Hey everyone, my name is Vince Palco, back for another safety chat here at GPRS, and today we have an all-star guest, Wyatt Teller. Wyatt, welcome to the video chat.
Hey, happy to be here.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit. We're going to talk about 3 tips to centralize information and data for your facility, and we've got just the man to give us that information, so super excited to have him on. Before we go there, though, Wyatt, give us a little background on who you are, how long you've been with the company.
Yeah, so man, it's been a heck of a ride. I started in 2012 with GPRS. One of my best friends had been with the company, Brian Vickers, and he asked me to if I was interested. I was teaching high school history and coaching high school and baseball at the time, and actually he was helping me coach the varsity baseball team. And he'd asked me, he said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming on to onto our team with GPRS?" And I said, "Well, what does exactly that entail?" And so he said, "Well, it's a lot of underground scanning and concrete scanning," and kind of was really, standoffish about a lot of it. And I was like, "Okay, well, let's go on a ride along." And these were before ride alongs were a thing. And so we went to West Virginia University one day, and I kind of did a ride along during the summer when there was no school, and I loved it. I was like, "Man, this is really cool, and you're actually helping people." And I thought that was really one of the coolest things. So yeah, 2012 is when I started off as a project manager in Philadelphia. He said, we have a position opening. I was like, "Great." Being originally from Virginia, he said, "It's in Philadelphia." I said, "Well, I don't know anybody in PA." But from that day on, I actually got to meet my future wife there, and got to build my base within GPRS there in Philadelphia. So I was there for about 3 years, and then I moved into another role in New York City. And I lived in New York City, well, just south of New York City in New Jersey for 5 years. And from there, I wanted to someday move close back to home. And so I got that call, and I said, "Hey, I would love to do that." And so we moved to Virginia, or I'm originally from Virginia, so we moved to Maryland. And so I took over the business development manager position there, and then a new position came open, and that's the one I'm currently in, and that is the facilities managing kind of guy. I don't know what you really want to call it, market segment leader of facilities on the East Coast. So now I work with facility owners every single day, and that's from schools, from universities, from manufacturing plants. You can imagine military bases, all kinds of different types of facilities that we work on every day.
Okay, thanks for that background. Now, you left a little key nugget out of that background. For those who love the NFL, the name Teller might look familiar to you. It is because of Rhett's brother, Wyatt, who plays for the Cleveland Browns as of this moment, and who I'm a big, big fan of. A question I have for you: who won all the wrestling matches back when you guys were growing up? Did you ever
Well,
get in any before he got huge or not?
so I was really smart at that point when he started getting bigger than I was. But being almost 12 years older than him, I won a lot of the early on matches because I was a lot older and bigger at the time. But I stopped growing, and he kept growing. And coming from, I have a picture, and this was like 10 years ago, and 10 years ago he was about 15 or 16 almost, and I was, 26 years old, or 27 years old. So I was a grown man, and he was still a young boy, and he was about 230 pounds, which, in the real world, that's a big boy. But he looked like a little pup. He had big hands, big feet, and you're like, okay, this guy's going to grow into his body someday, and he sure enough did. And when he went to Virginia Tech, he put on 60 pounds that first year, his redshirt year. And coming out of high school, he was a defensive end, and he kind of transitioned because there were some injuries on the offensive line. And he asked the offensive line coach, "Do you think I could just stand in?" I played a couple plays in high school, and he said, "Yeah, sure, sure." So he came in and literally became an offensive guard there that day. They never let him come back to the defensive side of the ball. But I think that's what makes him good. He's an offensive lineman, but he has a defensive mindset. So he really understands what the defense is trying to do. And so he's able to counteract that with hand placement and everything else. And his tenacity and his work is just insane, what he puts in every single offseason. So it's been a crazy ride to watch him, go through the college ranks and, become all ACC and then get drafted by Buffalo and then, kind of did okay there, started 7 games his rookie year and then open to the possibility of being traded. And so sure enough, Cleveland came knocking and they said, hey, we'd love to have you on our team. And so he went in there day before the season started, and he needed about 4 or 5 weeks to get acclimated with the book, the game book and game plans. And so he actually finally got out on the field, and man, he has been a presence since. And this past season was really awesome to see him finally get some great coaching and really come into his own.
Now, as much as I want to continue talking sports, I could go on and on for hours. I'm sure you could as well. Give us kind of the biggest challenges that facility owners face when you think of kind of our current reality, current landscape, and we'll get the conversation started there.
Yeah. So, when I talk to one of my first questions to facility owners every day is, what are your drawings like currently? And I get a variety of responses, but what the general consensus is that most facilities have drawings, and they could be aged from 1940s to 2010s, but for the most part, they're not really brought up to speed, and sometimes they're all over the place. So there's drawings in, the engineer's office, there's drawings in the facility maintenance office, so they're all over the place. And even if you do have a centralized location of them, most of them are paper. And so they're on paper and they're just hanging from the ceilings. And, unfortunately, you have a GC or a construction manager that comes in and has some construction projects on your site, and you have to steer them to that room. And you say, hey, go look at the room. That's where all of our drawings are. So, that's one of the issues that I see every single day. Another issue is not even having drawings. Sometimes you may not even have updated drawings, and the last drawings you had were on a napkin. So I've seen all kinds of things, and in my almost 9 years here at GPRS is they bring out a hand drawn note and said, this is where the utilities are, and this is what we have from the 1970s. And so that I've seen that. And then also there's a time where, you have Bob who has all of these plans up in his brain, and he's been here for 40 years, and he was here when they put all these lines in. And one of my first questions is, well, what happens when Bob leaves? Well, where do all those plans go? And so, those are all questions that I ask facility owners every day. And I really see the people saying all the same things, all these problems.
Yeah, it's funny. I was having a conversation with Andy Jersky, who's in our video pipe inspection division, and he was saying how he's on a job and he's helping someone out, and he's looking for plans. He's like, and he's talking to the gentleman, and the gentleman's like in his truck. He's got, well, there's a stack here, and then I keep a stack over here on the other side of my truck. It's like, what? It's insane, but it's reality.
It is reality. And that's what you have to do sometimes when you have maps. That is what you have to do with paper maps. And unfortunately, you just bring them with you. And if you lose them, then you could be in really big trouble. And that has happened to facility owners as well.
Sure. So what do you think are the causes of those challenges when you think of facility owners and those folks?
Well, some of the causes, sometimes is financially. Sometimes, you don't have a budget to just say, hey, mark out the entire site. Hey, look, take the, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 project and just have the entire 400 acres of my campus marked out. So, and that's one of the things that I kind of bridge the gap is I'm saying, we don't have to, do it all in one shot. I would love to, but, we can kind of tier this thing. And every time we come out with GPRS, we're going to take GPS coordinates of all of our findings. And so I make sure that all the facility owners know that. So no matter how many times we come out for them or their subs or any of the people that are on their site, as long as they're calling GPRS, they're going to have a permanent record of everything that's been done there on site, all of the utility locating and that kind of side of things. Now there's also the concrete side of things that we do. And, facility owners sometimes don't think about that side, but we understand that there are a lot of issues that people run into when they're cutting concrete or saw cutting or core drilling or anything that has to do with the, cutting of concrete. And so sometimes you hit conduits, sometimes there's, lines that you had no idea that are just underneath of that slab, and you bury that saw and you're going to cut that.
So SiteMap is the solution, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, SiteMap is the solution. And then even later throughout the year, we're going to have SiteMap Pro, where it's going to be, like I said, a platform for our clients to be able to use that can go in there with a sign-in, login information and see every one of their sites, if not just one, and be able to literally see all different layers of, of our maps that we've created, of their maps that we've even scanned in. That's going to be different layers of all the different things that we're going to be able to have in one location instead of having, like I said, to go to different locations, talk to different people. The nice thing is that you can actually give a login to your construction manager or, GC and say, look, this is all the maps that we have. Instead of having to take them to a room, you can literally give them the login and they can actually look at it. And for that, it's really beneficial to every single facility owner I've spoke to so far.
All very interesting. I want to go back to one thing you said. You keep talking about layers. Can you help us understand all the layers that are involved in SiteMap?
Yeah, so again, like I said, it's going to be a centralized location for not just utilities, but we're going to go into voids, if there's voids on campus, if there's USTs, underground storage tanks on campus, if there's obviously the utilities, we're going to have that as a different layer. So those are 3 layers. And then above ground, we're going to go into the rebar, the reinforcing, the conduits that are in the slab. And then we're going to go from there to the 3D imaging. So that's another layer. So we're going to have 3D, which is our Matterport, and then we could actually do some 3D scans of the inside of buildings. So that's another layer. And then the furthest layer is the drone flyover. And so we have a whole nother drone flyover that we can actually overlay all of our findings onto another layer. So that's the top layer. All those different layers are going to be in one place instead of, as you can imagine, so many different places. Yeah, it's almost mind-blowing. It really is.
Smokes. And it's truly is mind-blowing and amazing. I had the opportunity to see some of the Matterport video fly-throughs, and it's bizarre because you can go in and take a measurement of, say, this desk. You don't even have to be there, and you're using the software to measure from the top to the bottom, and you can kind of get a sense for how everything's laid out, the distance between everything. It's mind-blowing. You said it best.
Yeah, and there's even a dollhouse view too, where you can view the entire project from a dollhouse view, and then you can zoom in on each room, and it's pretty wild. So I envision doing that for a lot of different clients and facility owners. That is valuable. That's a whole nother layer that we've never really done or even been able to do in the past. So I think that's really going to bring some value to another layer of SiteMap.
Let's talk a little bit. We can't talk SiteMap without SIM. Talk a little bit about SIM for us.
Yeah, and SIM is awesome. I really, almost to back up a little bit, I think really what we've done well is to listen to our customers and say, hey, what is valuable to you? And so we do have a core flywheel, and what we've stayed with our flywheel is doing GPR and underground locating with all the different tools that we can do that with. But I think what we really wanted to do was listen to our customers and see exactly what they needed from us and to give them a better idea of what's going on. So partnering that with SIM is super important because subsurface investigation methodology is very important. And what we've done over the last 20 years is put together a methodology that we understand works best for a utility locator or a concrete scan person, a technician. And so what we've done is we've really found the tools, the equipment, and the training, and we put all of those in one, and we've really tried to hone in on what's going to give us the most successful way of locating things on your site. And we have a 99.8% accuracy rate. And so I think that bodes well to what our SIM process is. And it's not, something that we can only do. It's something that's not proprietary. We can literally, open the books on what SIM process is, and it's important that the industry, takes heed on those SIM standards.
Well, your brother may be an all-pro in the NFL, but you're an all-pro leading the charge in safety. So I really appreciate your time, Rhett. Awesome talk. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
So if you have listened to this and you have any questions for Rhett or the team working SiteMap, we're going to be slowly but surely introducing you to it more and more every day. But if you have any questions for us, go ahead and type them in below this video, and we'll maybe do a future episode on answering some of those questions. But thank you for tuning in. My name is Vince Palco on behalf of Wyatt Teller. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
What's the matter with you? God, I can't even look at you. I can't be serious. Son of a bee sting. Oh.
Give me one, like, son of...
Yeah, just stop.
Hey everyone, my name is Vince Palca. Put that thing down.